I'm continuing playing catch-up with Greg Pak's Age of Rebellion series, so let's not waste a lot of time and instead we'll just dive into the issue about Grand Moff Tarkin. The story starts with a little flashback of young Moff Tarkin growing up on Eriadu where he had it pretty rough. This is a nice visual to some similar events that we know happened thanks to the book Tarkin by James Luceno. The Tarkin family dumps their kids out into the wilderness so they could learn that life remains a constant battle for survival. The book makes it clear that Tarkin took those lessons to heart and they continued into his Republic and Imperial service. But in the present day, the bulk of the story takes place after Rogue One, but before or during A New Hope. He runs a simulation to see how the Death Star gunners would handle destroying an entire planet and not just a city. The simulation fails, so he assembles all the gunners to address them. At first, he daydreams about how he'd like to educate his staff, which involves showing off his buff, scarred 58-year-old chest and then stabbing someone to death. Instead, he simply warns them that he will tolerate no such failure when the time actually comes. Flash forward to the destruction of Alderaan, and you can see the relief on the gunners' faces when Leia supposedly gives up the rebel base on Dantooine. Of course, we know how the rest of the story goes, but there were still a handful of gunners that showed slight hesitation. One of them was from Alderaan, and he asked Tarkin how he would feel if he had to destroy Eriadu. It's pretty clear Tarkin would have done so joyfully, relishing in the thought of killing the people who abandoned him in the wilderness. He then airlocks those gunners and continues with his day. Something I think Pak has been doing a really good job with is tying in other Star Wars stories into his Age of Rebellion series, and this Tarkin issue is no different, pulling heavily from the character's novel. But Pak doesn't just point at those other stories and say, hey, remember that thing? He builds and expands and gives deeper meaning. The Tarkin book was meant to show a character's backstory and a reason for his ruthlessness, but I understand that even more with the comic. Tarkin sees the rebels as animals that would murder him without a thought if they could. He sees the entire galaxy as a fight to survive with no room for failure. Not only that, but I like that he kind of resents his childhood. It made him the leader he is, but knowing he would have happily destroyed his homeworld is telling. It certainly doesn't excuse anything. He's a terrible person. Seeing his childhood doesn't change my opinion of him, but I like the additional understanding of the man. Another solid connection was the fact that there are 168 gunners on the Death Star. Kieran Gillen's story about Dr. Aphra for From a Certain Point of View made that exact guess. Aphra figures there would have to be a ton of gunners so they could all share the blame or guilt they'd feel over destroying an entire planet. She compares it to firing lines and how one gun is not loaded so everyone in the line can tell themselves they had the unloaded gun. I appreciate that consistency here. I really liked Jody Houser's Age of Republic series, and Pak is continuing to do a great job. In the original trilogy era, I think he has even more source material to pull from and tie into, and that's just been fun to see. But what did you guys think of the Tarkin issue? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.